Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationships, and it's by user My Sister Makes Me Crazy. Me, 30 female, with my sister, 28. She is driving me and my husband, 33 male, crazy while staying with us, and now wants to stay longer and bring her kids into our child-free household. So, my sister lives in a house literally next door to our parents, and I live in a large city about 45 minutes away from their suburban city. My sister has 2 kids, 8 female and 5 male, and was a military wife, but was widowed. He got in a car accident, not killed in action. She has gone back to school and gotten a degree in IT, and is very good with computers, tech, and math, so that makes sense. Unfortunately, there aren't really jobs where she is anymore, not many, so she is having to look in the big city where I am. Well, she got a job, but she doesn't want to move her kids out until the end of the school year at least, to make sure the job works out and to also make it smoother for the kids. So she devised this plan to stay with me during the week in the city and let our parents watch the kids during the week. My parents are thrilled. Being grandparents is their favorite thing ever, and they love taking care of the kids, and I'm okay with it. Except my sister is the worst house guest ever. My husband and I are child-free, and I'm the older sister, so it's clear we're not having kids. We also made it clear when this agreement was made that we didn't want her kids staying overnight in our home. They never have, and it's not a home for kids. Instead of keeping the normal routine for her winter break, since she still had to work one of the 2 weeks the kids were home, she tried to bring her kids here for a full week. She just arrived with the kids, so they had to stay the night, and she threw a fit when we told her this could not stand for the week. She bad-talked us to my parents and her kids over it, and complained endlessly about how heartless we were to keep her away from her kids. She also had her daughter over several times when her daughter was sick, and one time, since it was a day my husband had off, she even wanted to go to work still and have him watch her while she was homesick. He refused and went out for the day, but that was ridiculous. She also asked me to stay home with the kid since she was new at her job, but I'm not sure why my niece needed to be dragged into the city sick. Why not just leave her with my parents? They're still relatively young, spry, and having no issues taking care of the kids. So why would a time when the child is sick be appropriate to bring her in? Another weekend, with approval, when the kids had a Monday off and so did I, she had the kids stay Saturday and Sunday night, and I took them to the zoo for the day on Monday while my sister was at work. We don't hate her kids, we just feel she uses them to cross boundaries. She is really messy. I mean, her own house was always beautiful, so I don't get it. But she has literally not bothered to wash a single dish she used. Start the dishwasher, and she throws her laundry in with mine, even though my husband and I don't even have common laundry. Finally, I bought her a laundry bin of her own and she started using it, but she's always asking me to do her laundry for her. I did it a few times, but now I just refused. It's constant, and she hasn't participated in house cleanup since she moved in. She will sometimes cook for herself, but she leaves a huge mess in the kitchen. Even worse, leaving scrambled eggs or beef fat and such on the pans. We're vegan, but we're not rude about it. She can have and cook meat, eggs, etc. in the house, but I can't stand the sight of her dishes sometimes with all these meat products in them. She's loud in the mornings. Both my husband and I have more flexible jobs and sleep until 8 or 9, but she gets up at 5:30 a.m. and as soon as she's out of the shower goes straight to the living room, blares the TV, makes breakfast loudly, often the egg pans, and wakes us up. Not every day, but often. We've talked to her about it. She apologized, but lately she just says, "Well, maybe you should wear earplugs if you sleep light," etc. She doesn't have a TV in her room, but she has an iPad she could watch on, or we have headphones set up to our TV that we use late at night, so as to not wake neighbors or her, which she could easily use. I really feel ready to kick her out after just a few months, and I don't know how to make it to summer when the kids get out of school, honestly. I also don't really see why she hasn't started showing her house since her job is going well and she has started mentioning that we have an extra room. It's a game room, not an extra room, that the kids could stay in, etc. I always laugh her off or seriously shoot her down, but now she's clearly been saying it to my parents because they are bringing it up too. Honestly, I don't want to let her stay now, let alone lengthen the stay. This is ridiculous. But my mother seemed very insistent I let her and the kids move in with me in the summer. I am not going to, but I would like this to not become a giant family drama. I am already the black sheep of the family, as both my sister and my brother across the country have kids, and my parents always wanted us all to have big families. They think my husband and I are kind of defective, that we don't want children. They love me, but they don't really like me, it feels like sometimes. They also hate that I'm vegan, even though I try really hard never to be rude about it. Basically, we're already the weirdos of the family. Okay, OP, it sounds like you've got two issues. One, of course, is your sister ignoring all the boundaries, and the other is your perception of what your parents may feel towards you. And I would say that for both of them, you need to sit down and talk them out. I would do it separately so they don't gang up against you or something like that, but in any case, sit down with your sister and tell her, hey, you're living in my house, these are my rules, these are my boundaries, respect them or find somewhere else to stay. And if anybody has a problem with that, well, it's their problem, not yours. It might turn into family drama, but sometimes those are unavoidable. And for the second one, sit down with your parents and tell them how you feel. Maybe they're not intentionally doing it, maybe it's just subconscious and it comes out wrong. I don't know. But maybe if you tell them that you feel they don't like you because you don't have kids and because you're a vegan, then maybe they can work on it. I mean, you're still their kid and you say they love you. I'm pretty sure they do. Even if they disagree with your life choices, they are your choices and it is your life. And what do you guys think about this situation, or what would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Yo-Yo Train says, holy crap, I think I lost it when I read her suggestion of you wearing earplugs in your own home because she, as a house guest, is making so much damn noise in the morning. I'd be pissed because I am not a morning person and a terror when I don't get my sleep. Talk to her and put your foot down. Yeah, she is going through something, but she needs to pull up her bootstraps, not just for herself, but for her kids. Be honest with her as much as possible. Do not sugarcoat. If she doesn't behave and comprehend like a reasonable person, I'd kick her out to a hotel or suggest she move back and do the long effing commute like a lot of other people do for work. Chausmo Sour says, quote, but my mother seemed very insistent I let her and the kids move in with me in the summer, end quote. That's a big duh. If your sister is this horrible of a housekeeper, what habits have those kids probably picked up? Your parents are probably wiped out. They raised their kids. They probably don't want to raise their grandkids, but they also don't want to look like the bad guys. An IT gig should be enough to let her find a small house or a large apartment to rent. Sister needs to get on it. You two have been generous, but you are not her housekeepers. Neither are you her nannies. And OP responds, my sister used to keep a perfect house though. That's one reason why her being so messy seems even worse. Snake Oil Huckster says, why isn't she able to commute? An hour trip isn't that long and it keeps everyone stable. I'm sure it is cheaper to live in her suburb than in the city. Why hasn't this been addressed? Let her know that you are glad you could help her for so long, but you need your life back, as you're sure she wants hers back. Give her 30 days in writing to move elsewhere. In the interim, help her look at apartments and packing her things up. Purchase new locks, but don't install them yet. I'd think you want to be really passive-aggressive. Let her see them, but don't mention them. Black sheeps will always be black sheeps unless you shear your hair to conform with them. It seldom lasts longer and you will always be the outcast. Wear it with pride. You have stuck to your morals and values despite your own family knocking you down. That is not easy. Pull strength from them and be firm to your sister. Let her have a tantrum and let your parents deal with it. You're just her sister, not her savior. And OP responds, the suburb is actually more expensive, but yes, I suppose commuting would be an option. I didn't add to the OP that my sister just got her driver's license before she got this job. She has a phobia of driving and her husband died in a car accident, so that didn't help. But I was very proud of her. She has a small car and has started driving. So maybe so much driving seemed impossible to her. Perhaps now that she's gone back and forth for weekends, it would be better? This could be suggested. Additional information from OP's comments. I was thinking that I may have painted her as worse than she was. I mean, she is driving me crazy, but I think some of you are spot on with why my sister's acting so erratically. I'm also realizing that while I said her house was always spotless, I've barely been in it since her husband died, so who knows what it looks like now, or maybe my mother was helping her. I really do feel my sister is a bit scared of something or depressed. She's in therapy though and has been since her husband died. I do want to put my foot down and say no and stick with a firm date of July 1st to move out, as we'd said, and no kids here. But I want to be kind about it too, and realize my sister has been through a lot. If my husband died, I'd feel alone in the world, and I have no idea how to care for 2 children by myself. She always had my parents, so that'll be scary to be far away from them too. She literally only has ever lived with them and next door to them. They owned the house first and her husband and her bought it from my parents. So maybe I downplayed that my sister was widowed 2 years ago and that some of this seems like her not being quite herself. We are close and she is actually the only one who never treated me like I was weird for being child-free and vegan and so forth. Also, please understand that I'm coming from a place of frustration. My sister is literally driving me crazy and that I'm not devoid of empathy for her situation. I just can't have her living with us, with her kids, with no end date in sight. I don't want to kick her to the curb, but she wants to stay past the original end date, and I do want to discuss her behaviors with her and maybe kick her to the curb if she really won't respect our home, because my husband has been so patient, but I have to factor him in too. He doesn't deserve to be woken up, asked to randomly babysit on his day off, have to smell and see dirty scrambled egg pans, have to clean up giant messes, etc. We do love our kids, but don't want them staying here because we have a lot of very expensive things and things have gotten broken before when they weren't entirely supervised, so it's mainly that. It also puts my husband on the edge and it's his home. It's not a never thing, like I said, we made an exception one weekend, but I framed it that way at first, knowing that if I didn't, it'd be an all-time thing. Our house is just not built for kids that young. When they're teenagers, it'll be different if they're still good kids. We hang out with them, especially me. My husband is not good with kids. And buy them things, and I think I have a good relationship with my niece and nephew, but overnight in our house is just no good. And regarding my black sheep comment, maybe I overstated it. I mean, my parents do love me. They really do. They just don't understand me. I've come to terms with this over the years, but I do want to be a part of my family still. I'm worried I'll never hear the end of it if I don't handle this right. I feel like it's easy to paint me as the brat who could help but doesn't bother, even though we've tried to help within reason. I'm also not going to help her though, even if I wanted to. I couldn't do that to my husband. He's already been very patient. I will try to have lunch with my dad though and figure out the situation, because it's more my mom pushing this idea than him and he has always understood me a little more. Okay, well the community gave OP some pretty clear and good advice, I'd think, and OP gave us a lot more context that kinda changes the narrative a little. Anyways, let's move on with the update to see how this story ends. So, I sat down with my father before talking to my sister because I felt my mom was being very pushy about the whole situation. My father mentioned that my mom was just very worried about my sister because apparently she'd fallen apart worse than any of the rest of us had seen after her husband died. She seemed to be seeing a therapist, raising her kids, going to school, getting a job, getting her license, keeping it together. But apparently, the messiness and laying about had already started in her own house, and my mom had been cleaning up after her, etc. Since my sister had always been an amazing housewife and kept a beautiful house, this really startled my mother. Apparently, they went in her house after not going in there for a month, because she always went over to theirs, and it looked like an episode of Hoarders with roaches and all kinds of problems. I mean, we've been picking up after her here too, but if we weren't here, our apartment would probably be filled with food trash and have bugs, rats, etc. So it went beyond just messy and was a definite cry for help. No one ever told me, and clearly this issue was very deep in my sister and her psyche was somehow embedded in the dishes and laundry issue. I wish my parents had addressed this sooner rather than just cleaning up after her and not talking about it. I'm not saying don't help her, but we need to talk about it. Anyway, I didn't think continuing to enable her was really helping her, so I still sat down and gave her some clear house rules, in writing, with consequences. I also told her there was no way to extend her stay or bring the kids here, and talked to her about potentially commuting if she decided she could. Since many people have asked why she didn't, she does have a driving phobia, but it's clearly improving. And this may be better for her, especially with our parents next door to help her and rely on with childcare, etc. And the kids already in school there. She is not sure she can commute back and forth, but doesn't want to sell the house in case she can, so that was part of wanting to extend her stay, not have to make a decision. It is the only house she's ever had besides our parents' house and the house she lived in with her husband, so it's hugely important to her. So yeah, the house has definite sentimental value, though I could see it feeling kind of dark and scary to her too. Anyway, I pointed out that summer is not here yet, so we can make the decision of whether to rent out or sell the house in the upcoming months, since she has money saved anyway and our parents can help her rent it out. They literally rent out houses for a living. Personally, I think if anything, she should only temporarily rent it and keep looking for some jobs out there. Very hard to find, but she might get lucky eventually, because I think she'd be much happier than in the city proper. I will continue to help and support her with this, and she's going to try to commute home a few days a week if she feels up to it to tackle her phobia and see her kids more. Also, I mentioned in my comments on the last post that she has already been seeing a therapist since my brother-in-law died. She's been working on a lot of issues she already had and issues that arose after his death. For instance, she basically had to learn how to drive after he died, and she already had a driving phobia, plus he died in a car wreck. So I think she is just extremely overwhelmed, but I feel like us not talking about it is not helping her. I think she has to address it more than 2 times weekly, and outside of therapy apply it more to real life to be healthy, and we've sort of just been letting her do her thing. But it has been almost 2 years since he passed now, so more needs to be addressed if she's going to continue getting healthier. Now, on top of therapy, she also sometimes attends a community circle thing with other widows when she can get back to her neighborhood for it. And this is also helping, so she is doing the work. I told her I support her and will always be here for her, and in the end, we had what I'd consider a good talk. She agreed to all the rules about cleanliness. The past few days, she has been much neater and quieter, but of course, it's too short a time to tell much of anything major. I hope things will improve for her. I just wanted to leave an update about the situation and thank you, because the thread gave me some great ideas, like talking to my dad or why wasn't she commuting, etc., and really helped me find my words. Well, OP, your sister is definitely going through something huge, but the good thing is that your dad told you, so now you can actually understand her better and not just kick her to the curb, but actually help her more. What you've shared with us shows a positive start, so hopefully it just keeps getting better. All the best to you, your sister, and all your family. Take care, OP, and thank you for sharing. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I really did enjoy reading them to you. So if you did, then don't be shy and go ahead and give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe or even share this video with people that you might think will enjoy my storytelling. Also, if you have the time, go down to the video description and check out all the links I have for you, from our Discord community to my channel merch. And finally, I'd like to say thank you for watching. It really means a lot to me that you enjoy my videos. And having said all that, I'll see you guys in the next video.